Ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America is almost finished. Today, we officially became America Incorporated, a global corporate empire that no longer represents the will of the American people. The stranglehold over both political parties by the multinational corporations, Big Pharma and Wall Street, has shockingly and shamefully become evident, as the Trojan horse that is the fast track to the TPP has been approved by the Senate and will no doubt be signed by our puppet president, the Manchurian candidate, Barack Obama. And it makes no difference that the majority of American people overwhelmingly oppose the Trans-Pacific Partnership, because it's not about you. This is about corporate greed and the corporate takeover of our country. Welcome to the plantation. So this is a global coup d'etat with a bunch of Republicans and Democrats working together to screw over the nation. Because let's face it, they've been bought and paid for, and they've totally sold out at this point. And if you're not familiar with what's going on here, I don't know if you realize it, but the TPP is the largest trade deal in world history. It involves countries stretching from Chile all the way up to Japan, representing more than 790 million people and 40% of the world economy. But it was negotiated in secret meetings behind closed doors. You and I weren't allowed to see it. Hell, they even kept Congress in the dark. They weren't allowed to see it either. But I tell you who was allowed to take part in the secret meetings: over 600 corporate executives, corporate advisors were in there negotiating this deal. And here's a little example of what they came up with. Big corporations have become even stronger, with an international tribunal of private attorneys outside of any nation's legal system. And that means no more laws to protect consumers from unsafe products. No more laws to protect us from unhealthy foods. More Americans will lose their jobs. Unemployment will rise even higher, as millions of jobs will be shipped overseas. In fact, according to Professor Alan Blinder of Princeton University, he expects as many as 40 million U.S. jobs that could be sent overseas. Wow. So this is very, very serious, and you can expect a dramatic increase in poverty. I mean, healthcare is going to go through the roof. And just like Obamacare and mandatory vaccines, this is a way for the corporate giants to force us to buy their products. I mean, this is a total corporate takeover of America. And joining us now is Anthony Gucciardi from Natural Society and David Knight from InfoWars Nightly News. And I wanted you guys in here to try to help make sense of all this, because there's a lot of confusion going on right now. Most people never even heard of the TPP. And Knight, let's start with you. How does this affect the average American citizen?
Well, yeah, as we said earlier today, there's a deliberate confusion, calling it everything is a T and a P, right? You got the TPP, the TTIP, the TPA, the TAA. What they need to understand is what's passed is the fast track procedure to ram this through, but it hasn't been rammed through. A lot of people are going to look at this and they're going to say, we lost. We tried to stop that process and we lost that process, but these trade agreements have not gone through.
So the fight isn't over.
That's right. It's going to affect a lot of people, and I think you see a lot of resistance from the Democrat side, more so than you do from the Republican side, because I think the base of the Democrats are very upset about this. They understand this is going to affect food, it's going to affect jobs, the environment, a lot of things that they hold dear. First Amendment, okay? Things that they hold dear. Republicans are looking at this and thinking, oh, this is just free trade. It's not free trade. This is crony capitalism, just like what we saw happen with the banker bailouts. This is crony capitalism, but it's also going to affect, and conservatives need to understand this, it's going to affect the Second Amendment. It is also going to affect immigration. Open borders is a part of this. Senator Sessions looked at this. He's one of, if not the most conservatively rated senators. He looked at this and he says, look, this is really going to affect our open borders. That's what happened with NAFTA. Remember, that was just a trade agreement. It opened the borders. This does the same thing, and it has a lot of issues that conservatives should be interested in. But the key thing is that this is a secret deal that's been worked out with corporations. It's being shoved down everybody's throats, and it's attacking our sovereignty. That's where they typically won't go, is talking about world government. They keep those hands tied behind their back. They don't want to talk about that. We need to talk about that as well. But there's issues for both the left and the right in this.
Well, and Anthony, you said something interesting. You said that it was the Monsanto Protection Act on steroids. How does this trade agreement affect or benefit evil corporations like Monsanto?
You know, I think there's such a misconstrued amount of information surrounding the TPP and the TPA. And just to clarify and break it down, like David was saying, the TPA is what passed, right? So that's the Trade Promotion Authority. And that allows for the TPP to be fast-tracked. And how that works is Obama comes in and says, okay, this is what I want for the TPP, and the Congress can either vote it up or down.
No more amendments.
Right, no more amendments whatsoever. And this is from an international body of groups and individuals who are putting this and shoving it down our throats. So there's still an opportunity to defeat the TPP because it's not officially passed. We've just allowed for the fast-tracking. But specifically, you know, we break this down, and everyone always is saying, like David was saying, the Democrats are against this. And then we're saying, well, the Republicans are against this. The lie is that so many people are for this. There's no one for this. Anyone that's for this is either being paid for by the corporations who are benefiting from it or being bought the propaganda by these corporations that are benefiting.
Well, and we're all being left in the dark because this was negotiated behind closed doors. Congress really hasn't been able to take a look at it. I thought it was interesting that even though none of us were allowed to see it, over 600 what they called corporation advisors were allowed to go in and negotiate this deal. So
the lobbyists wrote it.
Big
Yeah, well,
corporation.
that's so they
it
make sure it's good for them.
600 economic hitmen, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they want to make sure that the corporations are actually benefiting from this because they're the ones pushing it. They're the ones that are going to railroad this through. For example, Monsanto. Over 90% of the United States public is in favor of GMO labeling. There's no question.
Absolutely.
It should have happened years and years ago. It should have happened decades ago, right? But now we're at a turning point where states like Vermont are issuing mandatory GMO labeling. Monsanto is going to lose billions of dollars. They're already losing profits every single month. They lost $128 million in the last fourth quarter. Okay? They are losing. The grocery lobbyists are also losing. They know they're failing. This is their only hope to fight back and ban GMO labeling. This would
they can make it illegal, basically, right?
Yes, based on the legalese of the entire bill, some of it that has been leaked, and of course the mysterious parts of it, the legal experts are saying it gives the ability of Monsanto and the United States government to go in and say, well, we've already determined GMOs are safe, so labeling them would be the wrong thing to do.
Well, how do they make it illegal? It hurts their profit? Is that why? I mean, is that what they point out?
Well, because they can
Look, we're not
argue that it's
profiting from this.
safe. I mean, remember, as we spoke about earlier, the U.S. State Department has been caught paying Monsanto's marketing bills overseas.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how in bed they are. They can go ahead and say the GMOs are so safe that you don't need to know if they're in your food because what would it matter? It's the same as natural food. And then, well, why would we label anything then? Why would we label aspartame, right, if it's so safe? Why would we label artificial ingredients if they're so safe? Where does it end? What if we don't need to label any of those things because it's just the same as regular food? The TPP is extremely dangerous, and we soon may actually have no idea what we're eating if it goes through and they push this legislation on us.
Wow.
Your food agreements aren't just going to be secret. This trade agreement is secret, and that ought to raise everybody's concerns. And I think that's been one of the most effective things that has come out in opposition of this. If they won't tell you what's in it, it's because they know you're going to oppose it when you see what's in it. And that ought to get everybody upset, is the secrecy of this thing.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate it. So this is basically what has happened with previous so-called free trade deals, but on a much, much larger scale. And basically, this could be potentially the end of America as we know it, should this traitorous act be pushed through. I mean, it's going to affect each and every one of us. And I don't even think they should call it a trade deal because it is a deal that is made by traitors.